Evening. Welcome to MostlyAubameyang. I haven't done a rebrand, don't worry. It's just that tonight I am going to be mostly talking about our captain because there's a lot of things I want to say, and I think there's a lot that needs to be spoken about. Lots of other people have spoken about it, and there's a few bits I want to say. So that's what we're going to do tonight. If you like the video, like it, and if this is your first time here, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. That would be really awesome. But without any further ado, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Now, I'm going to start with looking at some stats, some cold hard facts, give some of my opinions on some of the stuff that I've noticed with how he's been playing, not just lately, but probably over the last at least 12 months or so, and maybe see where we can go from here. And there's a few other bits to chat about afterwards as well. But I'll start with Aubameyang. Now, cold hard facts. This is his fifth season with the club, if you include the fact that we bought him in the January window. So there's a bit of a season there. Now, his first season, I'm just going to look purely at his stats from the Premier League because I think that's the most even way to look at it. We could include the EFL and Europa League and things like that. But to be honest, some of the teams that we've played against, I reckon I might have had a chance of bagging a few against those. So this is Premier League only stats. Now, looking at his goals per game ratio, his first season or half season, he was averaging a goal every 1.3 games. That was 2017, 2018. Now, the following season, 18-19, he was averaging 1.63 games per goal. And the following season, 2019, 2020, he was still averaging a goal every 1.63 games. Those 2 seasons, he bagged 22 goals in the league in 36 games. Both exactly the same. Probably 2018-19 was his best because he weighed in with 5 assists. That's actually the most league assists that he's put in a season, which is not great, but I'll come back to that a little bit. So he's had those 2 seasons where he's hit a purple patch and everything's going great. And then you move on to 2020, 2021, where he was averaging a goal every 2.9 games. So you can see there's quite a big drop there. And then we come on to this season, where it's taking 3.25 games for him to get a goal. Now you can see there is a huge drop from a goal every 1.3 games to a goal every 3.25 games. There may be a lot of reasons for this. There's a lot of different factors. I'm going to look at some of those. I don't know why it's happening, but there are a few factors that we can potentially look at. So that's what we're going to do. Before we move on, it's becoming apparent that he's becoming almost as divisive a figure, or almost as divisive a topic of conversation as the Mesut Ozil conversations that were being had this time last year and further on. I just thought that was worth mentioning because everyone's got different opinions, and the thing that bothers me over the 5 seasons, his statistics don't look too bad, but the problem is those statistics are getting gradually worse with the passing of every game. So I personally can't concentrate on it holistically. I'm looking at not just what he's doing right now, but this season and last season, because there has been a decline and there hasn't been much improvement. There's been sporadic improvements, but not really enough for me. I'd also like to add, this isn't a kicking session on Aubameyang. I'm just looking at the facts and the things that I've picked up on in the games that we've played over the last year or so. I'll try to be as impartial as possible, but obviously I do have opinions. Now, one of the potential factors that could come into play is he's played under 4 different coaches or managers in his time with the club. Now, I'm not going to look at Freddie because I think that was, 4, 5 games maybe. I don't think there's enough data there to pick much apart. But when you look at his first coach, Arsene Wenger, again. That was his first season, so he had a little bit of a bounce as well. It was Wenger's last season, but that was when Aubameyang was averaging a goal every 1.3 games. Then along came Unai Emery. Now, under him, he was averaging a goal every 1.63 games. And now, under Mikel Arteta, he's averaging a goal every 2.72 games in the entirety of Arteta's reign as manager. Now, that kind of fuels the whole Arteta out brigade to a certain extent when you just look at it like that. And Arteta's football is much more pragmatic than that of Wenger's or Emery's. And we are creating less and scoring less. So there could be an element to the stats from these three coaches. You know, there could be something to that. There's also a timeline that we need to consider. Now, some of the things that I've looked at, things that have changed. If you don't look at the coaches, you look at his role has changed. He became captain of the club November 2019 after Granit Xhaka did what he did. Then he signed the new contract in September 2020. Now, I remember not long after he signed that, there were quite a lot of people on social media, they were screaming that once he signed the contract, he's gone right off the boil. I didn't buy into that initially. I didn't want to buy into it. But that's something that we could do with looking at as well. You've also got everything that happened with lockdown, and we started playing games behind closed doors in December 2020, so not long after he became captain. Excuse me. These are all factors that need to be looked at. Now, the big dip in his form, when you look at 2019, 2020, that's the season when he first became captain. He was still averaging a goal every 1.63 games. But then you look at the seasons after that, when he's been established as captain, that's when there's been a dip in his goal ratio. Now, I know it's not all about goal ratio, but when you look at certain forward players, the way I see it, you have two sorts. You have a goal scorer, and you have a forward. Now, a goal scorer does exactly what it says on the tin. They are there to stick the ball away. They don't impact the game in many other ways other than scoring goals. That's the bracket I believe Aubameyang falls into. Then you have forwards, somebody like Alexandre Lacazette, Mo Salah, Cristiano Ronaldo a few years ago. They've got a lot more to their game. They bring other players into the game. They can take defenders away and create space for other people. When we first got Aubameyang, he was a clinical, prolific goal scorer, and he had pace to burn. His running off the ball was brilliant, but essentially that's what he is a goal scorer. Now, when you look at the way that Mikel Arteta sets his teams up, as I said earlier, he is much more pragmatic than the previous incumbents of the role. And he, I believe, this style of football leans itself to a striker who is more than just a goal scorer, which I believe is why the side plays better at the moment when you've got somebody like Lacazette up front, because of his link-up play. He brings other players into things, and he seems to have a lot more fire in his belly. I'll come a bit more to that in a little while as well. Now, the stats are all well and good, but there are certain things that I noticed, and I'd first noticed a real decline last season. It was the away game at West Ham when we drew 3-3. Now, when their third goal went in, I think it was Soufal put the ball in. Michail Antonio headed it, looked like he got the goal. And I think it was Souček got awarded it in the end because it bounced off his foot. Now, the thing that struck me most about this goal was when Soufal got the ball, Aubameyang was probably about 5 yards away from him. And he should have been pressing, he should have been sprinting. The guy's just about to get into the box. There wasn't enough press, and Aubameyang looked knackered. Now, this wasn't the end of the game, this was the 32nd minute. So, any professional athlete, he might have had 5 or 10 minutes before that where he's running himself into the ground. If I remember correctly, I remember him putting one decent tackle in that game, and that was it. So he shouldn't really have been knackered. And that, to me, looked to be down to character, desire, and intensity. You should be killing yourself to prevent somebody from putting the ball into your box. I've spoke about this before with people, and they've cited there were personal problems with his mum being very poorly. I get that. But if your head's not in it properly, you probably shouldn't be playing. You should be honest with your coach and your teammates that your head's not in it properly. The other thing, people have said that it was malaria, but unless that mosquito's sent him malaria by email a couple of days before he's gone and had the mosquito's needle stuck in him, there's no way he could have had malaria at that point. This game was the 21st of March. He played for the Gabon 25th to the 29th of March. Excuse me one moment. So you can't even cite that. And like I said, that was the first sign of a real decline that I'd seen in him. You fast forward to this season, the fans are back in the grounds. He's had a couple of games, North London Derby in particular, his press was unbelievable. I thought he's back. And there have been other glimpses of it. But on the whole, the things that I'm noticing most, and these are probably more important than cold hard facts and statistics, is there seems to be a complete lack of intensity and desire. He's not, it's almost like he's jogging through a game, and that's the thing that concerns me the most. There's obviously a lack of confidence at the moment, but when your confidence is low or when you're having a bad run, and as a striker, confidence is so high on a percentage rating of your actual performance. When your confidence is low and things aren't going your way, you up your work rate because you've got to bring something else to the table. And that doesn't seem to be happening. I mentioned earlier about him getting the armband. I've thought sometimes maybe the armband weighs a bit heavy on him, but there wasn't really a huge decline once he got the armband. In fact, initially, I thought his performances were better. He was kind of moved out to the left and he was putting real shifts in, like backing up defensively. Maybe he shouldn't have been. Maybe, we needed him to concentrate more on attacking duties. And maybe he's got the ump from that. I don't know. But there has been a drop. And personally, I don't see him as a natural leader. I don't really like having a forward as a captain anyway. I think it should be somebody in a more defensive role. And it also needs to be somebody who's going to be one of the first names on the team sheet. Now, he has been one of the first names on the team sheet, whether that's because he's captain, as opposed to him being captain because he's one of the first names on the team sheet. But if it was me, it would have to be one of the players who, if I'm manager, I'm looking at him thinking, you're almost constantly nailed on to being this side because of your performances and your impact on the team and on the game. And from that point of view, at the moment, I can only see either Gabriel or Ramsdale as being captains. In the summer, I was so hopeful that Kieran Tierney was going to get the armband and Aubameyang was just going to go back to banging the goals in. That didn't happen, and I can't really even put Kieran Tierney in that bracket at the moment. His performances were a little bit off at the start of the season. Not saying he's playing badly, but they were below his usual high standards, and now he's not getting a game at the moment because of the emergence of Nuno Tavares. Personally, what I would do, I'm not going to talk too much about tomorrow night's game against Everton because lots of other people have done that much better than I could. But the main thing I'm thinking there is I would bench Aubameyang. I would stick either Martinelli or Lacazette up top. And I know from experience, when I was playing and I was having a rough time, I would either get put on the bench or drop to the reserves. There was one time I was having a stinker. I was having an absolute mare for probably 3 or 4 games. And the manager dropped me to the reserves. I had a good game, bagged a few goals. And then I came back and I'd kind of got my mojo back. Now, I don't expect that Auba was going to be sacked off to the 23s. But I think sticking him on the bench and bringing him on with 20 minutes to go when the opposition's tired and he can impact upon the game a lot more, I think that would probably be best for the club, the side, and also for his confidence as well. So that's what I would do. I spoke a little bit earlier about it could be the effect of the way Arteta sets up, that maybe it's not geared for somebody who's just an out and out goal scorer. Arteta's one of the things I wanted to talk about a little bit, because it's only a few games ago we were on this great run. If you discount the Liverpool result, because they were just by far the better team. We're all saying we're a young squad. We accept there's going to be a few bad performances, and we'll take that. Now, Thursday night against Man U was a bad result. There's no two ways to paint it. I was fuming because we did our usual, and we were our own worst enemies, and we kind of just handed the initiative to them after being 1-0 up, which, by the way, there's nothing wrong with that goal. De Gea's an absolute muppet for doing what he did. But yeah, I was very disappointed about it, but we've got to accept that this is a young squad. It's being built, and I kind of want to do a little bit of a Mikel Arteta progress report. Now, at the start of the season, I said that I would accept us being back in the Europa League as a realistic improvement from being 8th the last 2 seasons. Get us back into Europe. I will accept that. Now, I'm not being one of these fans who gets accused of accepting mediocrity, but I'm realistic enough to know that there was an awful lot of shit that he had to get rid of, and he's done that to a large extent. And now we've recruited brilliantly in the summer. Every single one of them has hit the ground running and have done so much better than I thought any of them would. And as it stands at the moment, if we win against Everton tomorrow night, which I'm confident we will, that puts us back in 5th. We're a point behind West Ham in 4th, and we're very close to being at the halfway stage of this season. So that's beyond my expectations. And I said I wanted to see an improvement by Christmas, and I have seen that. I'm disappointed with the lack of chances created and the lack of goals scored, but I am impressed, and I think he's doing a good enough job at the moment. I don't see any reason to change things. I know when I say things like this, I do get accused of accepting mediocrity. Anyone who says that can just fuck off, because I'm not accepting mediocrity. I'm just being realistic, and this is a rebuilding process. There's clearly this vision to bring in younger players. We need more reinforcements, especially with AFCON coming up. Ideally, we need a really, really top draw defensive midfielder, so we can hopefully see the best out of Thomas Partey, because we can't expect Sambi to do it all season long. He's very young, very new, and I think he's done brilliantly to settle into this new league that he's playing in at such an early stage and so quickly. I kind of likened him a little bit to Vieira, not in that I think he's the new Vieira, but the way that he settled into the early games reminded me of Vieira's debut against Sheffield Wednesday all them years back. So yeah, we definitely need a proper defensive midfielder. Not sure how I feel about Basuma at the moment, what's going on off the field. If he has done the things that he's accused of, then I don't want a player like that anywhere near my club, to be honest. And we can't avoid it. We need a striker, and if I had my wish list, I'd be going for DCL all day long. I think he brings everything that we need to play the football that we want to play. That's about it for my football-based rants. Some of you may have noticed I was in London Friday night for the Works Christmas do. Poshest place I've ever been to. Had to wear a tux, whereas normally if I go out, it's like ripped jeans and a hoodie. The do was at the Londoner in Leicester Square, and clearly I fit right in there. It was quite a mad night. It was lots of fun, but the thing that struck me most, I got the train to King's Cross, and I jumped in an Uber from there to the hotel. And I was chatting with the driver. And I was just saying, I don't know how you drive around here, mate. This is just fucking mental. He was like, yeah, you get used to it. And I said that I grew up around London, but, I couldn't possibly afford to live in London due to having, like, 4 kids and all that. And what he said next really, really hit me. And he said, yeah, this is not the place to bring kids up. It's gangs, man. And I was like, yeah, you see it a lot. And it's really bad. I'm a country mouse, my kids grow up in this rural environment, which is essentially very safe. And then what he said next blew me away. He said, my son got put away for 35 years yesterday. And I was like, I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to ask what for, but I thought that was really insensitive. And the guy, his voice was cracking. You could see he was really emotional about it. And he just said, gangs. Now, 35 years. Like I say, I don't know what he'd done. The guy was saying that he got dragged into it at a really young age because he has to work all the hours God sends, so he's not there to look out for him. Just to keep a roof over their heads. The kid got dragged into gangs, and, he's done something that's cost him to get put away for 35 years. It's clearly not just stealing a fucking car stereo, is it? I thought it was really sad. And even though I like to share funny stories normally, that really hit me, and I thought that was worth sharing with everyone. That is about it. As I said at the start, if you like this video, please like the video. And if this is your first time watching one of my videos, do us a favour and just subscribe to the channel. I'd absolutely love that. I think I'm on 74 subscribers now after 30 odd videos. If I could get to 100 at some point, that'd be absolutely mint. That's about all I've got to say for now. You'll probably see me about at some point during the week. I'll probably have a few bits to say about tomorrow night's game. There's some bits I'd like to say on the Women's FA Cup final today as well. But I will get my opportunities to do that. Until then, though, be good, look after yourselves, and I'll catch you next time. Ta-da.